Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Conscious Man 7 podcast. I am your host, Todd Cave, and this is podcast 32. On this episode, we are going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and we're going to journey beyond the veil, unlocking the secrets of ayahuasca and psychedelics. Today, I have an awesome guest for you. His name is Remi Delaune. And Remi was very instrumental in the initial stages of my spiritual journey and what I call my refinement period. I had 2 ayahuasca ceremonies with him, and the second ayahuasca ceremony with him was very, very powerful. And it helped unlock a lot of secrets to myself that I did not know was inside of me, and basically put me on to the journey that I'm on now to even having this podcast. So I am extremely chuffed to talk with him today. And for those that are on the fence on ayahuasca and psychedelics in general, I hope that this podcast will add great value to you and touch, move, and inspire you to give it a try, do your own research, because Remi has over 14 years of experience dealing with the medicine. And today I picked his brain as best as I could to help show people some of the benefits that ayahuasca helps in terms of drug addiction, overcoming fears and trauma, dealing with PTSD, and all other ailments of the mind that we suffer from today in this world. If you are new to this podcast, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and to share, because that helps us to be recommended in the algorithms. If you would like to support this podcast, please check out our merch store on Amazon with the brand Todd and Me. We've got some cool t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, and sweaters. Link will be in the description of this podcast. And if you're now starting a spiritual journey, you would like to start a spiritual journey, or you're currently on a spiritual journey and you would like some help removing some fears and traumas, please hit me up on my Instagram at Adriano_246, and it will help you to get some magic mushrooms. Enjoy the show and stay tuned, because we have some more great content coming soon.
When truth is blurred by lies and misinformation, perception becomes reality. What will you perceive your reality to be?
Liberate your fears and walk with me.
Sit down and meditate. Connect with your soul.
Be a monster and then learn how to control it.
You gotta be willing to do the work.
So it really goes really deep in terms of words and etymology and what they mean. So this is why it is really hard to really crack the matrix, because there's so many levels and layers to it, And today I have a special guest for you, one that I'm extremely excited to talk with today, because he in fact is very, very he played a pivotal part in my spiritual journey, and back in 2019, and it was 2020. Oh no, 2019. Wow, how time flies. And basically I had came to the Anarchapulco conference, and I got introduced to this fine gentleman called Remi, and I had my first ayahuasca session with him. And then subsequently, I went back to see him, and I had one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had. Very much, I would say, life-changing, because it opened my eyes to many different things. And Remi Delaune was born in a tiny village nestled in the French Alps in the southern province of France. In his early 20s, he took monastic views where he devoted himself exclusively to a spiritual path. During this time as well, through self-study, Remi received his doctorate in philosophy, a master's in theology, and ancient sacred musicology. After recognizing the limited reach of traditional religion, he wanted to look for alternative ways of healing the fundamental pain and reorientate modern man towards the meaning of life, which in the quest for spiritual truth and the direct experience of the divine. He has been studying sacred plant medicines and alternative healings for more than a decade. Remi, welcome to the Conscious Man 7. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing very good, Todd. I'm very happy to talk to you today, and I want to say a good hi to everybody who's listening. I would like to say first that to apologize for my French accent, so excuse my French.
Well, honestly, Remi, I think you speak like three, four languages, and
Hi.
you see what I'm saying? I'm only limited at three, but hey, who's counted? And I'm really excited to talk to you today because, like I said, when I first met you in 2019, I was going through this. I would say I was at one of the heights of I call it my refinement period. And it was through the ayahuasca session with you that I started to begin my healing process. And I know that today in the world, we are having a lot of challenges, mostly internal, spiritual, in terms of self identity as well, which is why we have a lot of debauchery, we have a lot of self harm, we have a lot of people,
Drug use and everything.
exactly all that stuff. And I want on this show, I like to try to give people hope and that things can get better. And one of the things that I talk a lot about is ayahuasca and psychedelics in general. But so Remi, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what caused you to go down the spiritual path that you walked and to become a shaman that specializes in ayahuasca?
So first, my personal path was really essentially a spiritual path. There was no medicine or psychedelic involved because I was for about 20 years a monk in a Christian Orthodox tradition, Greek Orthodox tradition. And from very early age, I was having the need of answering some question that was in my heart. And so at 17 years old, I decided to live a monastic life, and I went into a monastery to answer those questions. Basically, my main question was like, if there's such thing as a God, I have to meet him first thing first, and then after that, go on with my life. And so basically, it took me 20 years to achieve these first answers. And then I realized that living in a monastic life, I was seeing lots of suffering in the people who was coming to the monastery, and the ancient tradition ways to answer those problems that people were facing were not necessarily appropriated anymore, if you want. And I wanted to be more on the ground with the people, on the front line, if you want. And so that's how I turned myself towards the medicine, and the ayahuasca came to me very quick. It was probably I start with peyote by myself, like that, in a very respectful way, but no tradition attached. I was just doing peyote by myself, and then the ayahuasca came to me very, very early on. Now it's 14 years ago, and so since then I've been to Peru to study the tradition, the ancient techniques, and the language also, and now I'm here in Mexico sharing that with everybody that comes to our place, with my wife, who is also a practitioner, and that you met when you came here to visit us.
Yeah, Ashley is a fantastic lady. So when you said, okay, that you started with peyote, was this when you were in France?
Yes, the weird law in France was you can cultivate it for ornamental purpose, but you're not allowed to consume it. And I wasn't doing much of the ornamental purpose, to be honest with you. I was consuming it a lot. I wanted to look at my life after my 20 years of monastic life with a different angle. And when I was, before entering the monastery, in fact, I had a little accident that I call with some LSD, where I took 10 tabs at once. And that really has like set my whole life to enter to the monastery, changed my whole paradigm, my whole sense of reality. And so after the monastery, when I was trying to look at my life with a different mind, different set of mind, different angle, came back to me the memory that, hey, you did LSD when you were very young and it brings something to your life. Why not trying to look in this direction? And the easiest way for me was to do with peyote, which is this sacred cactus from Mexico. And so I did several many sessions of peyote by myself, and then the ayahuasca came to me, and I went to Peru, and I was basically from the monastery. I went to Peru almost straight away to learn with the Shipibo. This is the tribe I've learned from, and that's where I did my whole apprenticeship diets and my whole apprenticeship over there. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting because I mean, peyote is my least favorite medicine because the taste is so bitter and it is hard to swallow because for me, I see people chewing it, but I tend to try to swallow it. So I break it into small balls and swallow it like you do tablets of water.
Yeah.
But the problem with me is that I always need higher doses of every medicine I ever take. So like I've eaten like up to 13 balls before, and I still was like, I would say normal, right? But some people only three, four, they're flying. And for me, I had 13. So it's the least favorite, but it does give you, it just comes in waves, you know? So it's a cool medicine, but for those that want to try it, I would just say the taste is the challenge, right?
Yes. You have, if you want to try those mescaline cactus medicine, I would start by the one who called San Pedro. Is the
Okay.
easiest on your stomach, and the quantity, you just drink a big glass of it. So once the glass is done, you don't have to chew more button like that, like with the peyote. And so the San Pedro is the easiest. But this is a different type of medicine for sure than from ayahuasca. It's completely different.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So let's talk about ayahuasca. So what is exactly ayahuasca? Because like the reason why I ask that, a lot of people just hear it, but they don't really know what it is. So like because this is your area of expertise, how would you say is ayahuasca exactly?
So precisely, ayahuasca is a mix. It's a brew that we drink like a tea, a very concentrated tea, of two different plants. One is a vine that grows into the Amazonian basin, and one is the leaves from a shrub. The vine is called ayahuasca. That gives its name also to the tea that we're drinking, to the preparation. And the leaves of the shrub is called chacruna. So there's many different recipes. That's the original, the most common recipe. This vine called ayahuasca and these leaves coming from the shrub called chacruna. The indigenous, they say that the vine is like a book that contains all the knowledge. Very interestingly, by the way, the vine grows most of the time like a double helix. It grows by spinning on itself like that on trees to the light. So the symbolism is interesting if you want. And so they say that the vine contains the knowledge, it's like a book, and the shrub that we use, the leaves, contains the light to be able to read the book. And it's very interesting because this legend of the indigenous, in fact, really confirmed what the science is saying now, that the vine contains the armaline properties that block this enzyme in our stomach that allows the DMT contained in the leaves to come and produce those visionary experiences that we can have with ayahuasca. So what the ancients were saying in these allegorical words like that, symbolic words, confirm what the science is saying now, in fact, that the two are necessary.
Okay, interesting. And so I guess ayahuasca, the word is an indigenous word. So by chance, do you know what it means?
So ayahuasca, it's made of two Quechua words. Aya, it means spirit, and huasca means vine. So if you want, we call them the spirit vine, the vine of the spirit. What does it mean? It means that when you drink this vine, you allow yourself to be open to the world of the spirit. And so we can also say it, if you want, in a different language. I don't mix because it's different layers of reality, but it opens you to energy if you want.
Yeah. So how would you respond to people that would say, because I have spoken to many people online, and like when you start to mention psychedelics or things like ayahuasca or magic mushrooms, etc., etc., they the fundamentalist religious people push back extremely hard against concepts like that. And they always say, well, it is things that you're mixing with the devil and all that kind of stuff. So, as a person that you obviously enter the spirit world and then come back, and obviously you would have had transformations in your life, how would you respond to someone that would say, well, Remi, all of this sounds like just devil worship and dealing with spirits. These are not things that you should really be dealing with. How do you respond to like when you get
So
questions like that?
it's a very interesting question, Todd, because it has been more than a question for me. It has been at some point in my life. I came out of the monastery and I started doing ayahuasca. I was thinking about that all the time. Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the devil's work? And it took me many years to understand that first thing first, the ayahuasca is not a religion. The ayahuasca, it's a natural medicine that would heal all the different level of your being. It would heal the physical body, the emotional body, if you have trauma, and it would open you, if you have a certain interest for it, to a spiritual experience. But ayahuasca in itself is not a religion. So when I understood that, for me, it became very easy. Like I can have my personal spiritual journey throughout my own faith, and the ayahuasca as just a medicine, a global medicine that takes care of the whole personality, the whole person. I could do ayahuasca. I would say, if you are a religious person, would you not do acupuncture, or would you not do Chinese medicine? It's the same. It's just a medicine. The difference is that this medicine, if you have in you this mystic desire inside you, this mystical desire, the ayahuasca can open you to that. But if you don't have that in you, it will not produce it. That makes sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely, it makes sense. And I find that like when I first like heard about ayahuasca, it was at a time where I was at the beginning stages of what I call my refinement period.
Mm-hmm.
And my entire world that I thought was important and things that I valued had collapsed. Everything of importance was being taken away from me. My whole, I guess you could call it the hologram that I created for myself, started to crumble. And I was having massive, massive identity crises going on simultaneously. And I heard about ayahuasca through Jeff Burrick, one of his walk and talks. And I was still on crutches. And I was in my kitchen and I did some research on it. And even though I read some negative reviews on it, there were overwhelming positive things that I heard about it. And all I said to myself is, I want to try that. I don't care what I need to do. I need to find a way to do it because where I am at now, I need help. And that was something inside of me. I guess we were describing the mystic part was there was something inside of me that was telling me I need help because where I am now is not where I want to be. And my current level of thinking and understanding cannot get me out of the situation I'm in. So I do concur with what you're saying. And I think that a lot of people right now in their lives, because we are in this transition period, spiritually and cosmologically, that we're having a lot of truth being revealed. We're having a lot of challenges. We're having to face the skeletons in our closet. And many of us don't have tools in which to handle those situations. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you because like I do think that ayahuasca and psychedelics in general are a tool that we can use to help us to heal ourselves because it is a question of healing more than anything else because
Absolutely.
we're so broken and we're so traumatized,
The main disease that everybody is affected by, it's called, term that I don't like, depression. And the ayahuasca is the medicine for depression. You drink 2-3 times ayahuasca a year, no more than that, and you have enough inside your own physical body to be free of any kind of symptoms of depression. It's the best antidepressant. It's proven scientifically.
Yeah, I concur with that. So how long did it took you to actually become a shaman? Because I heard you said that you learned the language and stuff. So like that sounds like a very long process.
So the interesting thing about that is that I never really wanted to. I went to Peru. I've read lots of books about talking to spirits, spirit of the plants, spirit of vegetables. And in my rationalistic mind, because I was a PhD in philosophy and a monk, I was like, yeah, talk to me about that plant that can talk to you, spirit of the plant. So I almost went there to prove them wrong, and I never left. So I think they proved
Wow.
me wrong. And so myself was doing during my apprenticeship at some point, my maestro, my teacher, told me now you have to sing for people. But it has never been my first goal. I never been to Peru thinking I want to become a curandero, I want to become a shaman. It has never been my goal. It came to me as a request from people, from my teacher and from people, more than from my own desire. I've tried to walk away from the first seats, and the spotlight. And ayahuasca say it's not about you, man. It's just about the medicine, and so just do it.
Hello guys. So we had a slight break in transmission because Remy's in the jungle, so he kind of ran out of solar power. So we had to go on the generator to get some power to continue the show. So as I was saying, I had a very similar experience where it took me 2.5 years to basically start my own podcast, and it was not something that I really wanted to do. It was fun to do, but it basically I got woken up at night 2 3 months ago, and the voice, as I called it, just told me two words: do podcasts. And I got out of my sleep. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was just like, okay, I'll do it. And that's what happens to me in my life, where the voice just comes in and just literally speaks to me and tells me what to do. And so I completely understand where you said where you went to try to disprove about the plants that can talk to you, and then you end up becoming proven wrong. So, I find that they always have a lot of like negative press about ayahuasca and sacred messages, sacred medicines. Why do you think then, now that you've been dealing with the medicine for many years, why do you think that it has such a bad name, bad reputation, bad press when we mention these words?
I think honestly, Todd, is that to be very honest, I'm practicing with ayahuasca for over a decade now, and I can tell you that it's good for the great majority of people, but it's not good for everybody. And then now that is becoming mainstream, we're just facing the problem that it's not good for everybody. So there are certain people who might have bad experiences with ayahuasca, and just because there is not meant to be working with them. We know that, for example, if some people have some bipolar problems or schizophrenia problem, it's not appropriated for those people. And so now that is becoming mainstream and it's very known all around the world, well, we're just discovering that, yeah, indeed, it's not working for everybody. But when it works for people, it works very well. But it's not for everybody, for sure. I think also that we also have to understand one thing. The ayahuasca is the medicine of the poor people that comes from the jungle, that don't have access to those Western medicine, professional medicine. And so those tribes, those people over there that doesn't have much financial resources, with the COVID has been really hard a situation for them. And then now that everything reopened, there is a little bit of a business of ayahuasca because those people just need money. They just need money, and unfortunately, Well, they see that there's lots of people interested in doing ayahuasca because it's becoming mainstream, it's becoming so known all over the world. So for sure, I would say that for sure some people take advantage of this situation to make a business out of it. That's a reality. So that might be the main reason why ayahuasca can have a bad press. It's because it's not for everybody, and because it's coming from people who don't have any recourses. And if they see lots of tourists coming for that, that's in the human nature, to, and so that's the main two reasons, that I would say.
Okay, so interesting question then. From now listening to that, what you're saying. So if someone is bipolar or schizophrenic, are there any medicines that would work well for them? Because I know with ayahuasca is super visionary.
Yeah.
So because it works with the pineal gland and the sixth chakra. So would a medicine like bufo or peyote be more
Well, I
inclined for
mean,
them?
for bipolar, it's a little bit more complicated. For schizophrenia, there's two different types for me of schizophrenia. There's, I would say, almost a genetic type that really comes from like the genes inside us, and in this case, the disease develop over time. Since the early stages of life, it develop, and suddenly the disease is full blown expressing itself. In this case, no, ayahuasca cannot help. But if the schizophrenia starts after some kind of psychotic break or there is a before and an after, in this case, yes, the ayahuasca can work for them at very low dosage. But it's more, if you want, not just the ayahuasca itself, it's also the practice. Because what we forget to tell is that it's not just drinking ayahuasca, it's with who you're drinking ayahuasca. That is very important. If you're drinking ayahuasca with someone who knows the ancient techniques, know the language, know how to help you through the journey, well, your journey is going to be fine. But if you're drinking with someone who wants to take advantage of you, who doesn't know the technique, is not really trained, for sure you can be troubled. Because basically, when we drink ayahuasca, I always give this image to the people. We drink ayahuasca, and suddenly we're in a spiritual Times Square. Boom, the whole Times Square of the spiritual world open. But there's not just good spirit over there. There is also spirit that are not necessarily good, and so you need someone who can make the screening and connect you with the good energies. So I think that's very important to also understand. It's not just ayahuasca itself, is with in which context you're going to drink it.
That's interesting because I was actually going to ask that later on. Like, if there's a difference between just drinking ayahuasca on your own or DMT, and opposed as to doing it in a ceremonial situation where there's certain things that are done, like with the shaman and stuff like that. So what are some of the differences then that you can get where someone say, hey, I got some ayahuasca here, drink this, or smoke some DMT, as opposed to having a formal setting where certain traditions are followed? What are some of the differences you can get between the two situations?
Well, I would say that if you drink ayahuasca like that by your own at your house with a friend sitting next to you just to check on you, you will get some benefit for sure. But you will not get the full blown benefits that if you drink it in a traditional setting. That's where psychotic breakdown can happen. That's where accident can happen. In the ceremony in itself, give the frame for the journey to happen in a safe way. So you drink ayahuasca and there is ceremony, there is people that know what they're doing, they're professional about it, and they're going to assure a safe journey for you, that you can really, from the beginning to the end, have a safe journey. That's what basically I've been asked to do by my maestro and by the people after that, because as soon as I start serving ayahuasca, I had lots of feedback where people were like telling me that, yeah, they were very happy with my work, if you want. And so that's how it all started for me. But for me, it's very important, the setting. Even, for example, when you do mushroom, you are at your house, but set beautiful intention, music in the background, something that makes you feel safe. And so it's not just taking mushroom and going to party, you know. So the difference with ayahuasca is that you cannot drink ayahuasca in a party. It's physically impossible. You might be able to smoke DMT, but you cannot do ayahuasca in a party. It's impossible. So the ayahuasca requires, almost by its own nature, requires a ceremonial setting, a certain type of setting.
Yeah, because like from my own experience, there's like protocols that I've seen you do where you open portals of light, you cleanse the area energetically, you cleanse the person, you ask us to set intentions about what we want to achieve. And like if you are having like challenges through it, then obviously you can your Ikarus then, which are just the songs that you sing, have a massive impact on the person and the journey because it's almost like you're breaking through the mental prison that you've put yourself in, and you're looking at yourself in the third person, similar to like in quantum physics where you're becoming the observer of yourself. So it can be very scary because those are the things that are existing in your mind, but you're getting to see them sometimes in a physical, mental manifestation form. So it can actually be quite scary, and you have to have someone there to really guide you and to, because as you said, like because it's energy doesn't mean that they're all good. There's some negative energies out there that would want to try to infiltrate just because you're trying to do something good. So, okay, so if you were, so in this situation, someone that is like, say, schizophrenic or bipolar, are there any traditional medicines that could work for them, or medicines in general
I
just off the
think
table?
I think what right now is really active, and for a reason, I think the earth is giving us medicine when we need them also. They came up to the front, you know. And I think the microdosing mushrooms have very good results. Not necessarily the full dose, but microdosing them or microdosing mushroom. I would say that would be able to help people. Yes, but as soon as we talk about like strong psychedelic for people who have those kind of psychotic tendencies, it can be very dangerous, you know, and it would not help the people. It would create more chaos, more angst, and so if we do those medicines to help, you know, at the end of the day, it's really the only goal, you know, is to be at the service of people.
Yeah, I have personally seen some good results with microdosing for myself, and then some other people that I helped to get it, especially with things like PTSD.
Mhm.
I have seen like people that have come off of their antidepressants completely, just doing microdosing to help, maintain free from the pharmaceuticals because the thing is that the studies seem to be showing that when you with the control groups, one group that's only taking antidepressants and the other group that's taking magic mushrooms in microdosage form or in hero dose, it depends. I mean, it's no different. You're having actual neural development and new neural pathways being created in the brain, right, from taking the magic mushrooms. And what seems to be the evidence is showing is that people are able to come off the antidepressants permanently, but if they do microdosing and there's certain protocols they follow, and if you do the heroes quantity, it can last up to like 4 months before you would need to do another hero's journey again. So you were talking, you were saying 3 times a year, and this is what it looks like with magic mushrooms as well. If you take a hero dose, and if you're on antidepressants and suffering with depression, once every 4 months will be enough to keep you functioning. So I would say that I have seen it on with helping people and the stories that people have told me. More better brain activity, more focus, more concentration, better feeling about themselves. People, and I tell people that when they do like microdosing to create like a new habit, learn to do something else because from talking to like people that are experts in like self-sabotage and stuff, if you have like an addiction for something, you need to replace that addiction with something else, but you place it with something that's positive. So maybe learn to play the piano or take up a sport or something that is fun, that is positive to create a new neural pathway of this thing. Because Joe Dispenza always says that when you grow new neurons, they fire together and then they wire together. So that becomes a new neural pathway. And mushrooms is, from what in my knowledge, the only medicine that actually creates that neural activity in the brain in that specific way.
Mhm.
So how then would you say then that psychedelics and ayahuasca can actually help people in their lives? Because, like I find that like sometimes when people ask me, but Todd, how could this give me any benefit? Like, you know what I mean? Because I can just go in Peru in the jungle, sit down by myself, drink this thing, and then what? Like, what are some of the benefits and how does it actually help the person?
Mhm. Yes. Before answering your question, Todd, I want just to go back a little bit backwards a minute. The problem of mental disease, like bipolar and schizophrenia, the problem of mental disease is that it's also a problem of society. I give you a very simple example. In ancient indigenous tradition, sometimes the schizophrenic people was designed to be the shaman of the village. His mental disease was giving him a function inside the community. In our times, modern times, those conditions expels you from the community. We put them in hospitals. We have to treat them, but they doesn't give them a special function inside the community. You understand what I mean? And part of the healing, also in those mental disorder, is to be socially recognized as a difference. You understand?
Yeah.
And so that's very important. It's not just ayahuasca or mushroom. Is it working for them? The problem is way broader than that. It's like normally those people have special abilities that they don't understand themselves and they have to develop the tools. And you have to teach, they learn tools to be able to have a valuable community function. And right now, you have a mental disorder, you don't have any tools, you're lost. We give you medication to just count down the symptoms. But those symptoms, normally, those symptoms help you develop the tools, and then you discover through this mental disorder your function inside the society. We don't function anymore like that, and so we create this differentiation. Oh, he has a mental disorder. He needs to be treated. He's different. He has no value for the society. No, in the ancient time, it wasn't like that. They were accepted by the community. The community was giving them a special space for them to be able to give service to the community, So I think it's very important to understand that most of the curandero back in the days, I'm speaking a long, long time ago, were chosen amongst people that we would qualify with mental disorder nowadays. But through those medicine, through also the discipline, the spiritual discipline of the diet with master plan, and they develop the tools to deal with their own mental disorder and then to be able to help others.
I find that extremely interesting because I have said something similar, but not having anyone else to confirm it, but only through my experience with experiences with the medicine. And I've said this to people that I think that people that we classify as crazy are actually people that are able to see through other dimensions or realities to what is actually really there. But because the vast majority of people don't see what they see, we classify them as mad. And then here is now you're saying it's similar to what I have said before, but you're saying that this was like in antiquity, where those people that we would classify as crazy today have special talents and would be the ones that would be fit to probably guide people.
Oh, sure. The only difference nowadays is that the amount of people with mental disorder has increased tremendously. And so I wouldn't say all of them are special abilities, but some of them have special abilities that would be extremely valuable to the society nowadays, but we put them all in the same bag. The only difference with back in the days and now is that the disease of the society, the disconnection of the society makes the amount of people with a mental disorder increasing like tremendously. And so, but I think we are all crazy in a way, you know, but we have to deal with those moments where, okay, reality, outside reality and inside reality don't match. That's the definition of crazy. But when they don't match, what is true? Is it my inside reality or is it the outside reality? And so that's the work we have to do is to be able to recognize when my inside reality is not correct. Okay, I have to adjust to outside reality, but when my inside reality is correct, I have to stand for it. You know, and so, but I think it's a complex situation. Like everything, we can talk everything at the end of the day. It's a complex situation. It has many different angles and it has many different perspectives. But for sure, now back in the days, some people that we would qualify today with mental disorder were still having a social and community function. Now, the increase of mental disorder doesn't allow us to do that, and so we put everything in the same bag.
Yeah, which is a bit of shame, bit of a shame. And what's happening is that a lot of our mental disorders are very much engineered from the controllers of this world because we have food that basically is basically more or less poison. So we are getting fatter. So then because we're getting fatter, we have low self-esteem. That then leads to depression. Then we're having a health system where when we go to the doctor, the first thing that they do is they prescribe, if it's pain, they prescribe opiates. And then that causes a form of addiction, which then can lead on to depression because the addiction itself is a form of the depression because you're not in a mentally good state, you know. And then you're having for the time you feel sad, the doctors are recommending to you antidepressants. So you have this system where, like, while back in the day, the amount of people were probably, I'm almost certain, was much, much, much less than what we have now. We have an engineered depression, mental crisis. Then even when you add in things like social media as well, that also helps with the depression because amongst young teens, and depression has gone up like ridiculously, you know,
Yeah.
for very young teens. So what we have now is a situation where we have a lot of external factors that are really contributing to our mental decline, and we have lost our identity, our sense of self, and overall happiness. And so, with all that being said, how then can ayahuasca help someone in for self discovery? You know, how does it work in terms of like can actually help the person from depression and all of these like things that we've created like to in front of ourselves to stop us from achieving our potential.
Mhm. As a natural medicine, the goal of ayahuasca is to reinstore inside us a sense of harmony within yourself, within ourselves, with others, and with nature. Because if we want to give the definition of what uh, health is, health is just a sense of harmony. Harmony in my own physical body. All my organs are working in harmony, harmony within my own emotions, harmony within my mind, harmony with others, in relationship with the community, and eventually harmony with the cosmos. That's the true definition of health. In this regard, that the ayahuasca helped you tremendously because it's going to show you all the little disharmony, the little disconnections within yourself, with your own personal emotions, with your own personal history, with your own personal family, with your own, with your relationship. It's going to show you all those disharmonics tendency that we have. And so in this regard, the ayahuasca as a self-discovery tool is extraordinary. It really shows you we cannot drink ayahuasca for pleasure. It's impossible. When you drink ayahuasca, there's always a challenging moment where you have to look at yourself, at reality, at your life, like with honesty and with strength, And so that's in this way, I think ayahuasca is very good for that to heal you in the sense of bringing more harmony inside you, more peace, more joy, like that are just the natural fruit of harmony is peace and joy. And so bringing back harmony inside the person, bringing back more health in this regard will bring back more joy and more peace around, That makes sense?
Absolutely, I concur. So, because I've talked about my personal experiences, but because obviously you've seen like many people have come to you, what are some of the changes that you've seen, like when people come to you and then when people leave you or then revisit you again in the future, so that people can get context for like how it can actually benefit them?
I mean, we're always happy with my wife when people are leaving and have this sparkle in their eyes. That's really the reward we are gaining from this, doing this work, because they arrive, worries, life, just the regular life, the weight of life, or sometimes we're in these dark corners in life like that. And when they leave here, they're like brighter, lighter. And so basically our work with ayahuasca is to get into this energetic mess that most of the people are, and to bring back some harmony, alignment, more light in this in their energy field. Once it's done, then the joy will come naturally.
Yes, I do concur with that, and like I think it is very difficult for a person to drink ayahuasca and to be the exact same as they came in to the ceremony, like before they do it. I mean, it's possible, but I think it's really difficult because when you're actually traveling and your sense of perception of reality are changing in the moment, you see things that when you come back to this reality and you're integrating, it always gives you questions. And I think that that's one of the most important things that a human being can experience, because it's only through asking questions that they can actually get to some understanding of themselves, because they'd be like, well, why do we do this? And I think I'm almost certain, but that it was you when I came to see you, and you said to me that one of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself is what can I do differently? What can I change? What did I learn? What did I understand? And I do think that ayahuasca definitely causes you to ask questions. So I think it's very difficult to be the exact same person when after you drink ayahuasca.
I agree with you. It's still possible, because our habits and bad habits are very strong. But the way I see it, to speak it very simply, is like when you do ayahuasca, but I would extend it to any kind of natural medicine, you can see clearly the map of life. Then when you leave, you will know where to go, but you will still have to walk. You will still have to make some effort. The ayahuasca will not answer all your questions, but it's going to show you what you need to know and give you the energy, reopen those energy channels to be able to produce the work to change. That makes sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
So when you drink ayahuasca, basically, it's like looking at the map of yourself and of life. And suddenly, when you finish your ayahuasca, well, now you have a direction and you have to produce the effort for it and
I
to
think that
produce the change.
I think that's a very powerful distinction that you made there, because I find that a lot of people today, and I see it in fitness because obviously we're two hats. I'm a fitness trainer, and I find that I see it on that side a lot where people will come to me and they want to get into shape and stuff. And okay, you give them a program and you design their meal plan and stuff, but ultimately they don't take the action to actually
Yeah,
do the map. So basically, the map of life that you get with ayahuasca, I designed your physical exercise life map, and the people that follow the life map for the exercise that I give them get results, and the ones that don't take action don't get results. So I do see it on my side, but just from a slightly different angle, which is that you can have the plan and the vision, but if you don't take action and you fail to commit to the action of doing, you simply will not get results. And I think Napoleon Hill puts this in his book, Think and Get Rich. Think and Grow Rich, where he says, I'm paraphrasing that, you have to do positive. Basically, he's saying you have to do action in order for you to get the result, because thinking without works means that you don't produce anything.
exactly, exactly. And so that's where ayahuasca can really be of help, because it's going to show you, it's going to give you a vision and reopen a driving force in your life. The life force is flowing again, and so you can actually do it. Because there's lots of people who are also paralyzed. They know what they want, but they don't take action because they have no energetical resources. They have no energy. A level of energy is very low, and the ayahuasca show you what should give you a vision that can guide you during your life, and the energy or channel are reopen them to be able to produce it. But the very interesting thing is that there's lots of people that goes to ayahuasca in the same way that they would go to a Western doctor. Give me a pills that's going to fix everything. And I will always tell people that's not how it works. If you don't want to produce the work, well, you're going to drink ayahuasca. You might have a great time or not, but that's it. You're going to live. You're going to be the same. But if you really want to change, we have seen incredible changes in people here, like really almost miraculous changes, because the people really wanted to change. And suddenly ayahuasca showed them what's possible, give them the energy to do it, and then the change is started, And so that thing, I think it's very important to understand that about the ayahuasca is not going to change your life if you're not wanting to change your life.
True. Like I said, I see people that literally they would come, they would sign up with me, they pay me, and then they disappear.
Yeah,
They literally disappear, and I have to chase them and chase them. And and it kind of like, well, you took the important step to actually come to me and commit to doing it. But I think a lot of it is to do with the fear of change itself. That is what makes people scared, because they have to make certain sacrifices and they have to actually take action to implement changes. Because instead of, say, eating pizza every single day, I would say, well, eat pizza once a week. But maybe that is just too difficult for them. And they're like, no, I want to have my pizza every day. But the thing is that by doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result is what you classify as insanity. And
exactly.
a lot of us today, including myself, we suffer with insanity because we keep doing the same things over and over and think that we're going to get a different result. And then when our life doesn't improve, we get upset at life, but failing to realize that we are responsible for everything that happens in our life. So, like, what is you talked about some of the changes that people had. So, like, what are some of the changes that you've seen, like, specific to give people an idea of like how powerful of a transformation, a life transformation, someone can have? You have any
So
examples you can give?
we have had, for example, I mean, I have numerous examples of that, but the people who come here. We have had last year someone who was 20 years of opiates addiction, heroin injections, OxyContin, fentanyl. I mean, 20 years of use of opiates. He stayed for a month and he left completely transformed. To this day, he's clean as a bell. And
Wow.
yeah. And so that's, if you
Wow.
want, the extreme part. That helps a lot with addiction. But we have also so many people who have had the little changes, like after that, when they live here, but they're grateful to be alive. They're just grateful to be alive. Just grateful to have parents. They're just grateful to have a partner. Those are not, they are little changes, but they are big miracles. To suddenly realize after several ayahuasca ceremonies that, oh, the miracle is right now to be alive, to be conscious, to be alive. And so I have so many examples that I cannot even tell you. It's almost on a regular basis, on a daily basis. But the most important part, we have had some result with brain tumor on physical level. We have had lots of results with depression. It's the best antidepressant you can find, especially the vine itself, not necessarily the DMT side, but the vine with what the vine brings into the tea. That's the best antidepressant you can find. We have seen people healing a depression in just doing 2-3 sessions of ayahuasca, or 2-3 weekends of ayahuasca a year, and they don't need any more pills. Their depression is healed, And so we have had after that, in where ayahuasca is very efficient, is with the dependency, the addictions, whether it's to a substance or to a behavior, to nowadays is to pornography also equally, and so, or like alcohol or any type of substances. That's where the ayahuasca is very beneficial, Yeah, and we had very, very great results, So far, we never had here someone that left being unhappy with his staying. So that's a good ratio.
That's powerful, some of these things you've shared. And from my experience, you don't want to do ayahuasca every day. It is such a profound experience that when you leave the ceremony, you're like, okay, maybe in a few months, but not, I want to do it next weekend, and then the weekend after that, and the weekend after that, because it is so immersive that, like, I remember, like, when I did my second ceremony review, I said, Remy, so when does this thing actually kick in? You said, oh, you'll know. Those were your exact words. You'll know. And after the cut that I had, it just opened. Like, it felt like I was in a different reality. The way I can describe it in words for a person who's never done it, it is like you entered the dream world. So it's like you were having an awake dream.
Yes.
And when you're dreaming, things seem so real during the dream. And because of my psychedelic experiences, my opinion about the dream world is that the dream world is the actual reality. And when we are awake, like now during the day, is actually the false reality and is not really what we are. It's just a construct of the mind. But from my experience, when you are sleeping, this is where you get messages, downloads, you get
Yes.
visions. So it's almost like, for me, if I describe it as a personal experience, ayahuasca is like having an awake dream with other people next to you having their own dream at the same time.
So there's two things I want to say about that. I really do believe myself that it's a clear teaching that I received from the plant that we are constantly dreaming. But when we talk right now, we narrow down our consciousness to be able to exchange like that as normal human being, because this is also who we are. We need these moments. We cannot live all the time in this dream world. It's impossible, and that's not why we're here. But we have to live in both worlds. In this one, we are now talking, exchanging, and having this communion, of thinking and feelings, and also the dreams when we are at night, through our dreams or through medicine plants, that we have to be one foot in both reality and be very grounded into that. Because if you're all the time in the dream world, you become very ungrounded. And if you forget about your dream world, your life becomes flat. Your life becomes flat, purposeless, meaningless, and so it has to be in both sides, But what I want to say also is that what you mentioned, after like a very strong ayahuasca ceremony, it's very important to take an integration time. So you receive your information, you receive your experience like that, and then you need a certain amount of time, depending on everybody, and there's no system for that, depending on everybody, a certain amount of time for those new energy that have entered inside you through your journey to really settle down and become part of your perception of the world. That makes sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I find that the integration period, because I found in my experiences with all medicines, but today obviously we're talking about ayahuasca, is that you receive so much information that at the time when you receive it is very difficult to process and understand. And it takes a while for like, and this is going to bring me on to one of the things that I was going to talk to you about, which it ties in very cool. Dreams. I find that after I take ayahuasca, I have vivid dreams for that are really vivid for like the next 2 to 4 weeks. And then after that, the vividness comes down slightly after that. But for the first, I would say between 2 to 4 weeks at a period of time, dreams are super vivid, loads of messages, and you get up with like thinking, wow, like, okay, what does that mean? You get loads of messages. And would you say that that's because of the crystallization that occurs on the pineal gland, or is it just the way the medicine works?
It's also the plant we're using. They're like stimulate your dream capacity, And so, for example, the chacruna, the shrub that we use the leaves, if you drink a super concentrated tea of just the leaves, you will have no effect. You feel nothing. The concentration of DMT is extreme, but you have no effect because your stomach is going to block the intake of DMT. An enzyme inside your stomach is going to block the intake of DMT. Though at night, you're going to have extremely vivid dreams. It's not psychoactive during the day, but it became extremely psychoactive in the dream world. That's very interesting to know that. So wow. The plants are stimulating this dream capacity of ours. Very interestingly, also, just to do a parenthesis, some medicine that people use a lot right now, like, for example, cannabis, marijuana, blocks your dreams. People, the big users of marijuana, they usually don't remember well their dreams.
Really?
The one who are using it on a daily basis. And when they come here to be clean, suddenly I'm like, oh, I'm dreaming again. It's like, yeah, you never stopped to dream. You were just blocked from your dream world.
Yeah.
And so the plant has clearly an effect on your dream capacity, on your dream. They reconnect you with your dream ability. And myself, honestly, and there's nothing in this medicinal path, there's nothing like the dreams. Dreaming is like drinking ayahuasca every night.
I find that my dreams in the last, because this is basically 5 years since I've been on this psychedelic journey, and I have received a lot of messages in dreams. I've seen a lot of like, the only thing I could describe as like different worlds, different realities that have been like so real. I mean, like basically mimicking the effect that I would have when I do ayahuasca, because when you are traveling with the ayahuasca, it is so real, but it's all in your mind. I have had full blown conversations with myself in my mind while doing ayahuasca and asking myself questions and receiving answers and then me asking myself, is this real? And I get having replies like, but what is real, Todd? So,
Mhm.
it's been like you question then everything in this paradigm, like what is really real, like what is really important, and you it is difficult to ignore all the messages. You will make some changes, but the key is to take action, to be fair, because after you have the integration process, your dreams are just, I think that the dreams are what kind of like show you the path, because you get it all like in 4K, boom, in a big chunk, and then the dreams sort of like break down like sections of it for you to see, and the medicine just seems to know what to show you, and it's almost like it has like a, okay, we call it a spirit, but it seems to have like a consciousness to
Yeah.
be able to show you what you need. Because I've had situations where I've gone it with certain intentions of what I want to see, but that's not what I saw. I saw something completely different.
And
So,
even more interestingly, thought about that is that it's very, very common for people as soon as they decided to do ayahuasca at a certain date, already to start feeling the ayahuasca working on them, even before drinking it. Then they drink it, and they have this kind of intelligence that is really there already, and so that's where the big mystery is, the spirit of the plant. They know what we need. They know us closer than us, and better than us. And they give us what we need, not necessarily what we want. We have hundreds of examples where people come with one intentions and their ceremony is all about something completely different. Yeah.
yep, I can concur. That's happened to me several times. I came in with, okay, I want to see this, I want to connect with this. That's not what I saw. And I always ask myself, but why am I seeing it? And then it's only after a few weeks that it kind of like makes sense. Uh,
Mhm.
so
That's
like,
why that's why the integration is crucial. 50% of the work is done during the ceremony. The 50 remaining percent is done during the integration.
okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And how long then would you say like an integration period lasts for
It
your
really
experience?
depends on everybody. It really depends on everybody. It can go up to like from 3 days, 4 days after ayahuasca ceremony to sometimes several months. When you have like a strong experience, lots of download and everything at the same time, you need months after that to really let all of that settle down, reorganize itself, harmonize itself, and then bring back your new self, to the surface.
Yeah, it's true. Because you basically get a breakdown of the self. And I find that that is one of the most difficult parts of when you're doing any psychedelics, whereas like, because we create this image, this self, this identity, this hologram, of ourselves, and we hold on to it for dear life, because it is our identity. And when you have something that breaks that identity, and I think that this happens a lot to people that are like super religious, and then when they realize that religion is not really impacting their life in the way that they would want, and then they leave religion, there's always this period in time of like feeling lost,
Yeah.
depressed, sad, because the whole the image of the self that they created has just been shattered, and it's just in pieces. And the difference is now is that they don't have tools in how to put those pieces back together, or to put the pieces back together in the way that it is in harmony, instead of being out of disharmony. So the medicine really helps with that.
Yes. It's like painting a canvas. You put the first colors, the first layers, you have to let them dry a little bit. Then you can paint the different nuances on top of it, and so on. You have to let everything first settle down, reharmonize itself, and bring you new perspective in life. Then you do another layer. And that's what integration is, to give those plants the time and the space to really root inside you and change your mind for good, you know.
Yeah, it's true. So, if someone listening to this podcast is interested in, say, doing ayahuasca, what are some of the protocols that they would need to follow in order for them to have a good experience with the medicine?
So the protocol is differently than, for example, the magic mushrooms or other plant medicine. The ayahuasca requires a little preparation in order to be able to have the utmost experience, you know. If you arrive and the day before you just was like drunk dead on the floor because you drink too much alcohol and you eat crazy food, your experience is going to be a nightmare. You're going to be physically painful. You not really have any visionary effect because you will be completely blocked. So there is a little preparation. The preparation is two different types. First thing first is to prepare your body. Is to prepare your digestive system, digestive tract to receive the medicine and to process it to the maximum so you can have the best experience. The second preparation is a mental preparation by being in meditation, in calm, in gratitude, in a very in a very peaceful contemplative state. That's the two things you have to do in order to come to an ayahuasca to have the best experience. Of course, you can come just like that and drink ayahuasca after having eaten a burger, but might be blocked and you might suffer a little bit in your stomach, you know. So to avoid that, it's better to prepare yourself mentally, psychologically, emotionally, but also first thing first, physically. And
Okay,
how
so
do
let's,
you prepare? You prepare
yes.
by avoiding like very heavy foods, like red meat, pork, heavy, very fermented cheese, all of all food that are very hard to digest, a little bit heavy on the body, that you have to put it on the side. So basically, eat very naturally, fruits, veggies, and so that's the best way to prepare yourself for an ayahuasca ceremony.
Yeah, so I think that's quite important for people to understand because the I find that for me, my experiences have been is that where I was energetically, because my dad has always been pretty good because I do physical exercise and stuff. I'm a trainer, but I find that where I was when I saw you energetically, I think that was the most difficult for me. That's where I was. It wasn't much of a physical part. It was more, I guess you could call it mental, but it more turned down to my internal state where I was. So I was really blocked on the second time that I saw you. So it also depends, I think, like, that as well, like where you are in your life, because, if
Absolutely,
you're,
absolutely. I think it can be said in general for any type of natural medicine because it's not just drinking and it's going to produce a certain type of effect. It depends on where you are in life, what life you have lived so far, what food did you eat, what type of thoughts you are having all the time, what is the emotion that is always constantly in your heart. All of that create a personal context. Then the medicine is going to do something from there.
yeah, definitely. And, this is why, like, I'm trying to get out like this information for people to understand that it is not necessarily how what we've been told, because I basically the way I see the information that we received in the public is very controlled, and 90%, I would say maybe up to 99% of everything that we've been told, we need to think in 180 degree um, change, because everything is all propaganda. And I would say that medicines like this are very much frowned upon by the mainstream and government, because they don't really want an awake populace, so they don't want a populace that are actually trying to heal themselves, because we live in a guilt and fear based matrix. And the more guilt and fear that you have, the easier you to be controlled, and the more you will be in a state where you can't think rationally and, do things in a way that, would benefit your life,
For sure, those medicines show you the natural way, that we have been so far away and disconnected from, so the medicine bringing you back to the natural way, what is to be human being right now on earth. That's what those medicine is going to show you, so in this way, if this is what you call to be awakened, yeah, I agree, absolutely. To be fully a human living right now and having this one-time life on earth,
Yeah. So, on your website, you have a video where you're talking about the self. Can you go into a little bit of detail to exactly what is the actual self so that people can, get a good understanding? Because
So
it tends to the
what do you mean by
self,
that? Yeah.
the self, because like the self is almost like an identity, and in terms of like a philosophical sort of understanding, like the way Carl Jung breaks it down and stuff like that. Do you have like an understanding of like what self really is?
Myself, I think the what I would call the self is the personal perception, which is your perception of the world is unique to you. My perception of the world is unique to me. This awareness of the world is unique to everybody and the same in everybody. That's what I would call the self. What who I am when I look at the world, when I look at myself, when I feel this awareness, that's the self.
Okay. And this then ties into consciousness then, because like the self is very much in alignment to like the understanding of the bigger picture of life. So then how can the medicine help you to have like an understanding of the what is consciousness, who you are, what you are? How does it kind of like work to help improve in the lack of knowledge in those areas?
I mean, I wouldn't make a difference between self and consciousness. The self is just the consciousness that is aware of itself.
Okay.
You understand? And so after that, to be conscious, that's the whole miracle of life. If you look at the size of the universe, if you look at the size of the history of the universe, we are not even nothing. We are nothing. It's almost like we never existed. If you look at the great scale of the universe, but at the same time, we're conscious of being alive right now. And that's the whole miracle. I am absolutely nothing in this huge universe, in this gigantic, there's not even an adjective that can describe the universe and then this size. And myself, I'm ridiculously nothing in this universe, but I'm aware of being nothing. You understand? And that's for me the great miracle of life. If I look at the history of the universe, my life is not even something. It's the closest to zero that you can even imagine. But at the same time, I'm perfectly conscious of that. That's the whole mystery. And that's where myself, I do believe that because of this nature of the consciousness, we are not, our life is not going to end with this timeline, We're going to have like, just after death, I think we're more than just what we are living right now. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does feel that way because like I connected with like past life during one of my ayahuasca experiences, and it really like made me think differently about, well, if I have had past lives, it means obviously I've been here before, and this experience here now is just a microcosm in the whole grand experience of life, and in terms of like creation and the cosmos and stuff. And it seems like we become very ego driven, and it's the ego that tends to really rule our lives, to be honest with you, when you think about it, because in this matrix that we live in, everything is all about service to self and not service to others. And I find that, like in terms of me, my journey is that has been trying to master my ego because I find that the ego is what causes all the self-sabotage and stuff. So would you agree that your medicine does help you with mastering your ego?
Yes, I mean, I have a different perspective about that. I believe that we have an ego that is the just the construct of all our personal history and also ancestry and everything, the culture we are living. And so there's the ego, which is just the big mix of all these conditionings. And we have what I like to call the luminous ego. And this luminous ego is the one who really want to do good, who wants to raise, help people, who wants to be at the service. This luminous ego is the one I'm trying to live the most on, to really follow the lead of this luminous ego. So master my ego, I would say that I would, yes, in the sense that recognize when my ego is trying to dominate everything because of his conditionings, life conditioning, historic conditionings, culture conditionings, ancestry conditionings, or when I can rise above these conditionings and be really the leader of my own life according to good principles, services, gratitude, and you know what I mean? That's where this luminous ego enters into in play, and that's what I'm trying to follow myself.
That's interesting. I've never heard of the luminous ego. Quite interesting concept, to be fair.
Mhm.
You're just looking at it then of like this thing inside of you that's pushing you towards becoming more in line with the universe, positive energy, uh, service to others, gratitude. Is a very interesting concept to look at it because I would just call that basically connecting with source. That's what I would call it. But I guess maybe it's just a matter of semantics and words, right? So, but basically, we're talking probably about the same thing, you know?
Yes, absolutely. That's the way I say is this part of us that try to always transcend the limitations and for the better, greater good, not for our own purpose. Myself,
Mhm.
I mean, I've studied also the Oriental's philosophy and the death of the ego. So even some people come to the ayahuasca to discover what is to the death of the ego. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that at all. What I'm looking is like to find this ego, which is the same, then as you said, that is aligned with the source,
Mhm.
and to be put all of all of myself in this ego.
Okay, very interesting. So since you started out from say from being in a monastery, your perception of God has most likely changed to something different. So like what is your then understanding of God or the source or stuff? Because it's almost like you went from one extreme to the next, where there are people that don't believe in anything and then understand certain things. But for you now you're super religious then to coming out to like where there's like no religion. So what's your like take on concept or theory about
Myself,
what is
what
God?
I want to say first is that I left the monastery not because of a problem of faith. I still have my faith, and that
Mm,
never changed. So my vision of God has changed, and it's the same at the same time
okay.
because it has, I would say, it has gained in size. And before I was kind of really oriented in just one way. Now my vision of God has been a little bit broadened up. I think you say in
Yeah,
English.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I find like for me, what happened to me is that instead of looking at God as just like this figure in like, an ethereal place sitting on the throne judging, for me, I have like seen that, but everything is God. I am God, you are God, the plants are God, the trees are God, the animals are God, the sun is God, the moon is God. So my perception has changed where like this like interconnectedness, where I realize that like in me treating others a certain way, I'm really treating myself that way, which is really a form of self-sabotage. And by me realizing that if I treat others the way I want to be treated, then in that situation, I am definitely being God because God is supposed to be a positive, energetic force. So in me doing positive, energetic actions, I then am God in that situation there. And then because I am God, then other positive, energetic things would be aligned and be attracted to me. So that's basically my sort of
Yeah, yeah.
like theory or ethos.
The thing I think it's important for me is to distinguish the energies of God and the essence of God. I
Hmm.
really do believe that the essence of God is something we will never reach, is always beyond. If we say God is good, yeah, God is good. But good, our concept of good cannot enclose the entire
True.
goodness of God. God is just, yes, he's just, but just it cannot enclose the entire God. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
think the essence has to always have to be maintained beyond the far beyond that we never reach. Though his energies can come to us and we can see them in our life, in our emotions, in our feelings, in the nature around us. It's a field. God is so present that he's so present we don't even see him.
True.
It's because he's right there in front of us. And we take it for granted that we miss it. You understand? But that's just his energies, his manifestation. His core essence is something that will always remain a mystery that has to be contemplated, not be resolved.
Interesting, interesting. So then, what are your thoughts on like things like ascended masters and like people like characters like Krishna, the Christ, Saint Germain? What are your thoughts on like those
Well,
ascended
myself, I
masters?
mean, I am also, because of my monastic background, I might have some bias concerning Christ that you might
Okay,
understand.
okay.
But what I would think is that some people can live constantly in the flow of energy that comes directly from God. You might live okay a little bit and whoop, you deviate. It's just life. It's just we're distracted, we have worries and everything. But people are able to live fully inside the spirit of God
Okay.
and just one with it. That's what I would talk about. Illuminated people, saint people, and so that's as you said, ascending. You said that
Masters, ascended masters.
ascending master. I mean, people who are living, who are the perfect incarnation of the Spirit of God.
Mm. Because I read a very interesting book series that Benoit introduced me, our mutual friend, and it was the works of Saint Germain, and I found that work like super interesting. The magic presence, untold, unveiled mysteries, ascended master handbook, the I am discourse, and the concepts that are being explained basically is that this inner presence that we have inside of us is the thing that we really need to focus on. And like what you're saying, I think that's a very good explanation where they're able to live constantly in the essence of
Yeah.
God
In
or
the Spirit.
source or whatever word you want to use.
Yeah.
Well, at our level now, we tend to come in and out of it. There are moments where we're in it, and then we come out of it, and then we're back in it again. So like,
So, as a trainer, you probably have the experience of what we call the experience of the flow. When you're like
yes.
doing your exercise and suddenly the exercise is done by itself and it doesn't cost any energy to you, you have this flow going. You know what
Yes.
the athletes call the experience of the flow, singers, I mean, or surfers, I mean, what we call the experience of the flow is the best image of being united with God. Instead
Mm.
of with an exercise, it's with God. There's this like natural flow coming through us from above, from the world of above, and that's what means to be in the will of the of God. For me, you know, and
That's a
so
very, very good explanation. like to be in the flow state, because I never thought of it like that, but it's very true because like I do calisthenics, and when I'm doing certain exercises, I feel like this energy inside of me, this presence that is like so distinguishable, so real, so palpable, that I'm in this state where I'm able to do incredible things. And when I look at myself back on video, I'm like, how did I get that done? Right? Because it looks almost impossible. And it was because I was in a flow state. And then sometimes I actually am able to physically put myself in it, where I would do like I call it mental visualization, where I would just go into a slight meditative state. I'm literally bringing the energy where I can feel the energy in my body, and then I can do certain things. So
And
that
so
makes sense.
if you want, God is the how to experiment God inside us. That would be the maximum flow state possible.
Yeah, yeah,
And
the
in this
maximum flow
regard,
state.
my definition of God, if I could say a definition, is absolute maximum positivity. God is.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah. That's a very interesting concept, because I find that like the word God tends to be very much misunderstood, and I find that like this is why I prefer to use words like source, because source is more encompassing, and I find that God tends to be, because there's a bit of a definition, it tends to limits the essence of what source is, because our perception is that God is a man, but God is both male and female, because it's both the the masculine energy and the feminine energy at the same time, right?
Yep,
And
it's
both
beyond.
uh, were in harmony, which is like one of the inspirations for even like like my shirt as well, where you got the two serpents going around, and then you have the illumination, So this is my actual logo for my show, the Conscious Man 7, because it was very much in terms of like having that balance. And I always like use that word a lot with friends and family, where like I'm trying to find balance in my life. Well, I use the word harmony, which is the exact same thing, is to try to find that balance, that harmony, where like life is effortless, life is fun, life is like easy, there's is not like too complicated, but it requires like a lot of work. So, so like, what would you say? Do you have any tips or any advice for people that trying to work on themselves, that they can take away from this conversation, that they can say they can try to put things in action in order to help feel better, have the harmony, break away from the programming, the social conditioning? What are some of the tips and advice you can give people that can help with them on this process? Because we're on a spiritual journey, on enlightenment and stuff like that.
I would say it's important to shift the focus. Shift your focus. Don't look at what is the bad that is happening to you in your life, but look at all the good which is already around you that you don't look enough at. And when you have shift your focus, shift your mind. Have good thoughts. How come you want something good to happen to you if you always have negative thoughts, judgments, worries, fears, frustrations, and you expect something good to happen to you when this is what your mind is made of? That's not how it works. And so if you shift your focus, don't look at the bad. The bad will always be there, but look at the good who is already there, and that is like really for you to reach and take, and enjoy. And have good thoughts towards others, good thoughts towards yourself. And when you practice those two aspects like that, don't look at the bad, look at the positive inside you, and practice positivity inside you. Then a form of love will start to appear inside you. Love for yourself starts with, and love for others after that.
Yes, and I always, it's similar to what I say. terms of like fitness, the body achieves what the mind believes. So if you believe that you can get into shape, then you will get into shape because you believe it. And that's basically akin to what you're saying. You can't expect positive result if you're starting from a negative place, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Remy, so if people like this conversation and they wanted to, excuse me, reach out to you, organize a retreat with you or anything like that, please tell the people how they can find you and what are the other services you offer and stuff like that, you know.
So basically, if someone is interested in coming here to visit us in a jungle where we live, where we have our little retreat center, the easiest way is to go on our website, and you have all the information of our website. And so they can find the phone number of my wife and exchange on WhatsApp to see the availabilities. And what do you find coming here? You find the lodging, you find the food, and 4 ayahuasca ceremonies a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, every week for 10 months out of 12. That's what we do. You can also, by request only, do some session of Bufo alvarius, the toad medicine. And when you come for a certain length of time, you can also have a plant diet. So on the side of drinking ayahuasca 4 times a week, you receive by prescription. After a ceremony, I look at the people and see what they need, and we give an extra plant on the side during the day that they drink, and the plant is going to help us heal if it's a healing, or learn if it's a learning.
Awesome. And so that they know, what's the name of the website?
It's www.kumankaya, kumankaya.com. Kumankaya.
Awesome. So links to your website will be in the show notes. And Remy, when this episode is published, I would have already seen you because I will be seeing you in a few days to have a retreat with you, which I'm really, really looking forward to. Because it's been 4 years since I've seen you and connected with you, so I'm really, really excited about that. And as usual, people, please don't forget to like, comment, and share because that helps us to be recommended in the algorithms. And as you know, I am an online fitness trainer, so I help spiritually inclined people burn fat and build muscle. So if you want to get into shape, you're ready to get into the best shape of your life, you want to improve your mindset, you want to learn how to eat and how to train effectively, send me a message on my Instagram at Adriano_246 or my name Todd Cave on Facebook, and just let me know that you want to get into shape because we're in a very precarious time at the moment, and we're talking on this conversation about the mental side of you. But as you know, I always say that in order to improve your mindset, might take as you go through the body because the body gets stronger because your mindset will improve. So they actually have a symbiotic relationship. So hit me up on Instagram at Adriano_246 or my name Todd Cave on Facebook. And as you can see, I have on one of my own shirts. It's the Conscious Man 7 shirt and the logo. It's a really, really cool shirt. So we have some really
I have a question, Todd. Will you bring me one like that?
Sure, I can give you one of the shirts, man.
Oh, great, man. I was super happy to see you again.
Yes. Man, I can give you one of the shirts. Man, I got another design. Or if you want this one, I can give you this one as well, and not a problem.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, man. Awesome. So the link to the Amazon store will also be in the show notes. And as you know, guys, I help people that to connect with magic mushrooms. So if you're on a spiritual journey and you want to overcome your fears and traumas, also hit me up on my Instagram or my Facebook. All links will be in the description of this podcast. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and to share because, again, we're trying to grow this platform. And we're going to be talking to other cool and interesting guests just like Remi. And Remi, it was a pleasure to talk to you today. And many thanks for coming on to the Conscious Man 7 podcast. And I look forward to seeing you in a few days, my friend.
Thank you
So
so much for having me, Todd. That was a great time. I was very happy to talk to you, and I hope it will help some people. And I'm very happy to see you very soon too.
yes, I'm sure it will help some people because I do get messages from people reaching out, asking me, because I talk about psychedelics and stuff. So at least now, we've had this chat. People can come to it anytime, and arrange with you to come and do some ayahuasca because it has been life changing for me. And I share a little bit about my life and a little bit about my spiritual journey here on the Conscious Man 7. So if this conversation added any value to you, again, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and to share. And we will see you on the next one. Speak to you soon. Ciao and namaste.